This is a help session for part 3. So if you plan out your design a little bit carefully, take a little bit of time to do that right, it'll just make your life a bit easier with the numbers that you're going to be using. So the first thing that you need to have is a nice grid. Graph paper is fantastic. If you haven't, don't forget that you can just take one sheet of paper, turn it sideways, pop it underneath the other bit of lined paper, and it'll make a grid, as you can see the other lines through the paper. That's a good way to do it. Once you've drawn up your set of axes, the next thing that you want to do is start off at a point. I'm starting with the point A22. Start off at a point with 2 whole numbers in it. Write down the coordinates and give it a name. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a pair of lines that are perpendicular, so they're going to meet at right angles. So the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out what the gradients of my 2 lines will be. So I'm going to pick a nice easy gradient, like a gradient of 2, and then I'm going to pick a second gradient, will be the negative inverse of that to make it perpendicular. So I take 2 over 1, flip it upside down to get 1 over 2, and I change its sign from positive to negative. That's the rule to get a perpendicular line. Alright, so once I've decided on the 2 gradients I'm looking for, I'm going to then work out my second and third points. So to get a gradient of 2, however many I go across to the right, I have to go up twice as much. So I'm going to go from 2 to 6. So I'm going to move 4 units to the right, and that'll mean that I have to do double that upwards. You move 4 across to the right, so I need to go up a total of 8. So from 2 to go up an extra 8, that's going to take me up to 10. So now I've figured out my second point has to be that point 6, 10. To figure out the perpendicular line, it's the other way around. The run has to be twice as much as what the rise is. And I've got to do the opposite sign. So that means instead of going up, I'm going to have to go down. So I just pick a distance to go across to the right, and then I can figure out how far down I have to go to get a gradient of -1/2. So I've chosen to go across 10 units to the right, which means I have to go down half that amount. So I have to go down 5. So that'll give me a rise of -5 over a run of 10. -5 over 10 will give me -1/2 when I simplify it. So now I've got my 2 lines drawn. From A to B, that's got a gradient of 2, and from A to C, that's got a gradient of -1/2, and I can show that in my formula with full working, no problem. Now I need a pair of parallel lines, so maybe I'll just make kind of an L shape here. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to point D. To make sure that D is parallel to the line AB, the green line there, then I need to make sure it has the same gradient. So it has to have a gradient of 2. Once again, that means my rise is twice as much as what my run is. So I've chosen to go across 2 units from 12 to 14. That's my run, 2. And now I've got to do double that amount in my rise. So I have to go up 4. So I'm starting at -3, going up 4 units, takes me past 0 to 1. So my point D is the point 14, 1. So you've already satisfied perpendicular lines, a pair of parallel lines. So we just really need to complete the shape and make sure we've got at least 4 lines in it, and all will be good. So hopefully you can see there how you can kind of plan this out, reverse engineer it, using the gradients to force the points that you're choosing to be whole numbers. Not that they have to be whole numbers, you can work with decimals as well, it just makes your life a bit easier. So have a crack at that. Keep the drawing pretty simple. Don't try and spell out a 10-word name or anything like that. Keep it to one letter or something like that, and just make sure that it's going through and satisfying all of those 4 requirements of what you have to do. And hopefully you're going to end up with all your points on nice whole numbers, and it'll make all your calculations really easy.